Hello YouTube, Dave here again. I am back from my trip to Toronto and the Elimination Chamber WWE pay-per-view, and I have been completely burned out the last couple of days. I got back Monday evening, but my flight, like my leaving flight, my to go to Toronto was a 5 a.m. flight because I was worried that weather might cause delays. So I had a hotel to check in, so I was rather be delayed from 5 a.m. for, a few hours rather than being delayed from like noon or something and possibly miss my check-in time. So I ended up getting dropped off at the airport the night before because there's no way that, I was getting my wife to get up at like 1 a.m. in the morning to drive me to the airport and then have to work that same day. So I spent quite a few hours in the airport. I was pretty busy the entire time I was out, and I've just been completely spent coming back. But I do want to get something out, so I thought I would do something really simple, which is just another like pickups video. So I ended up getting quite a few things added to my collections before I left for Toronto. But I also got a few things while I was there as well. So we'll sort of go through them in not a hugely organized particular fashion. I just had to start piling stuff up here. So we're just going to go through and start now with something that I picked up from Giant Robot. Actually, a buddy of mine was there. I was at the store and I picked something else up that I had set aside, but the owner forgot that he had this thing set aside for me. So my friend, actually, who was already there, still there, picked it up and then brought it to me, and I paid him back for it. But this is Alien White, or Black, White, and Blood. So this is just a really cool, I guess, graphic novel. But what's really interesting about this one, like, this is like a huge comic. Like, most comics are about like this from here down. So this is actually a pretty big, it's like just a sized comic, but looks really, really cool. And I love that you've got the different chapters there, and they're spelling out the alien thing, kind of like in the movie. And again, the art just looks really, really cool. Huge Alien fan, so yeah, this is really awesome. I really think that like the Romulus prequel comic should have been something like this, like nice and thick with lots of stuff being able to go on. But this is still really cool nonetheless. So we got Alien, Black, White, and Blood. Also, something that I pre-ordered months and months and months ago. I can't remember exactly how far back this was, but I want to say it was like early summer, if not maybe even like super late spring of last year. But they finally came in, and they came in this handy dandy package here. So I guess this is the way that they come from WizKids, as two in a package. But we're gonna open this up here because I don't really need the outer plastic. I'm not that hardcore of a collector. But what we have are two copies of the Nolzar's Marvelous Miniatures, the brand new retro-inspired Beholder. So this is based off of like the first edition AD&D Beholder. Now, I gotta be honest, like I want to always give WizKids the benefit of the doubt, and I haven't had super positive things to say about some of their products, like in terms of price-wise, stuff like this. Now, the Nolzar's line, I think, are perfectly fine, like in terms of their pricing, and you get to buy exactly what you want, so that's great. But what's a bit of a downgrade with their newest style of packaging is that it feels very lazy, and I'll tell you why. So the other ones would always have a painted version of the miniature on the back, something that you could actually reference if you want to paint it yourself in the same style. But the new ones are pretty generic. It just has kind of what they are, and it's not like dedicated or different for each one. So I think that's a bit of a downside, but it's still fine. I'm going to keep one of these sealed, and then the other one I'm going to actually paint up, and I want to paint it in the style of the Beholder encounter from the D&D arcade games. I can't remember if it was Tower of Doom or Shadows over Mystara, which had the Beholder in it. But the Beholder, like the sort of like the risen up, the rise up, the plates basically were, like I said, I'm super tired. The plates were green on its skin, and then the gap, sort of the recesses between them, was kind of like a pinkish color. So I'm going to try to go for that style here. But yeah, really, really cool. So one of these is just going to go up on my shelf, and the other is going to be painted up. So that's some really cool stuff there. I also picked up while I was, because like we'll get to the paint stuff here in a moment, but I also picked up some other things here from my other types of collections. So number one, before I went to the Elimination Chamber, WWE Shop had a 40% off sale. And I decided to pull the trigger and get a replica that I was initially planning on getting at the show, but I'm glad I didn't wait for that. So that is, and I'll do a video of the actual belt itself, but this is the version 2 of the brand new like Intercontinental Championship. This is the one with the blue globes on it, and let me tell you something, those blue globes really make a difference. But the reason I'm glad I didn't wait to get it at the show is, number one, all the belts were at least $100 more this year than they were last year in the summer. So, like my Undisputed Championship that I paid $650 for, plus tax at Money in the Bank, was actually more than that. It was more than $100 because they were going for like $850 this time around. So they had gone up by $200. They had basically all of the current championships except for the tags and the Intercontinental. So the belt that I was looking for the most, they didn't have there. They had 2 versions of the United States Championship, the regular and the LA Knight one. They did have the Bret Hart Legacy Series belt, which was over $1,000, which is crazy. They had the Trish Stratus Signature Series belt, which was kind of cool, but it has a super wide strap, so it makes the women's center plate look way smaller than it already is, just because of how much there's probably like a good 2 inches of strap above and below the center plate there. So not really my cup of tea. Glad I wasn't holding out to buy a belt from there. I didn't really take any videos or pictures of the store or anything like that this time around. I did last year, but I didn't want to have other people's faces in my videos, so I never ended up publishing that footage anyway. But yeah, so I bought this Intercontinental Championship. So it was $600 with taxes and shipping, versus it would have been at least $600 or $750 plus tax, at the show if they would have had it there and if I would have bought it there. So we got our new replica belt. And then some other things here. So recently, I was looking at the Giant Robot Facebook page. Every Wednesday, the owner gets his new orders in. And he had something there that I was super interested in. And it was to add to my Ninja Turtles figure collection. They had a couple of the figures there that I remember having as a kid and were among my most favorite. But when I asked if he could set any of them aside, and this was less than an hour after the pictures went live on the website or on the Facebook page, they were already all gone. So I don't know if he only had a single copy and they were snatched up immediately, or what was going on with that. So I decided to hop over to Amazon, and I ended up getting the entire 4-pack of the 4 ones that he had, the 2 that I really wanted, but 2 figures I also never had when I was a kid. And they come in this fancy box that says, "This is a set, do not open." I will be opening it at some point, probably in a future video. But we've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Classic Mutant Figure 4-pack. It has the Rat King, Casey Jones, which are the 2 that I never owned when I was a kid. And then the 2 that I wanted were Slash and Mutagen Man. So I now have those in this fancy box. I'll be keeping the box. And I'll be putting the figures up on the wall. I'm going to at least be putting up Slash and the Mutagen Man. I might have to rearrange some things on my figure wall to be able to fit everything. But I should be able to do that at some point. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. So Rat King, Casey Jones, Slash, and the Mutagen Man. All right, so I'm going to set those down. And we are going to continue along. So another thing that I ended up picking up before going on the trip was the completion to my Star Wars beginner game collection. So this is the Edge of the Empire beginner game, so it's still sealed. I'll be doing an unboxing video for it at some point in the future. I recently did an unboxing for Force of Destiny, and like the overall contents are going to be pretty much the exact same, so I'm going to give it a little bit of time to breathe there. But yeah, I'm not looking to get the actual role-playing games because each of these box sets also has an additional free adventure that you can download off of the Edge Studios website, which I've already done. So with the 3 starter sets, I've got 6 scenarios or adventures that the characters can go on, and we can mix and match the characters from each of the starter sets so you can have a bit more of a dynamic party, which I think is all that I really need for this. The main reason, again, that I wanted these is for the sets of dice, but we do have the actual scenarios as well, which is pretty cool. So that is like I said, the completion of my Star Wars beginner box collection there. So they also did one for The Force Awakens, but I don't think that one was ever reprinted. And honestly, I'm super not into the new trilogy as it is, so I'm not really looking to get that anyway. But there we go. So we got the Star Wars set complete, and now up next is some sets of dice here. I guess I should separate those blue. One's translucent, one's just sort of flat matte. But the reason I ended up getting these is because this summer I'm going to be running a 5e D&D game at a thing called KingCon. So it's a little gaming convention here in Kentville, Nova Scotia. And I'm going to be adapting a simplified version of the encounter at Blackwall Keep from the Age of Worms adventure path. I love lizard folk. I love that adventure itself. That's kind of where the Age of Worms campaign really started to pick up for my players, and they really started to get interested and invested in the story. And my idea is that I'm going to be running it for 5 players, so for up to 5 players. And I was looking through just some miniatures that I've got tons of, so I don't mind shrinking my collection of it. I mean, some of these are even still in their original poly bags from like 2000, what's this one here, 2005 and 2006. So for 20 years and 19 years, these guys have been sealed in their bags. But I've got in Elven Archer, so that's I think I went with the Ranger. No, I went with the Fighter, Fighter Ranger or Fighter Archer character. We have a Human Wizard. We have, of course, our Halfling Rogue. We've got an Orc Barbarian who's actually going to be using the shield and this one-handed weapon. And then we've got, this is going to be my Dwarf Cleric. So the idea is that anyone who participates gets to have their character, their pre-gen character. It's not going to be Adventurers League legal because I did give them each an uncommon magic item, which for level 3 characters they're not supposed to have yet. They're only supposed to have a common magic item at that point. But it's going to be a kind of an action-packed scenario, so I wanted to give them a little bit of an extra edge there. But the idea is that if you play, you got your character pre-generated for you, and you'll get to keep your miniature along with the set of dice. Now, if everybody that plays comes with their own dice and stuff, then I'm going to hold on to these. But the basic overall premise is that, I want this to be like a beginner-friendly and more of like a kid-friendly thing as well. So if I do have any younger children that are going to be playing, my other idea is that I'm going to buy a player's handbook, and whoever, if somebody joins that group and they don't have their own book, or if they're again, sort of like a younger kid looking to learn D&D, then my idea is going to be to give them the copy of the player's handbook as well. And if I have any sets of dice that are left over after, giving out the ones here, because again, if somebody shows up and they're well experienced and they have their own, whole bunch of their own dice, I might hold on to their set. And again, give it away to somebody that's, again, just sort of getting new to the hobby. So I want this to be a more beginner-friendly game, aimed at beginner players, and there'll be stuff that they'll get to keep as a result of everything. And then if they're all sort of younger or newer players, then what we might do is have a roll-off at the end for the player's handbook. But anyway, that's sort of my idea for that. Oh, and my puppy just came into the room. I know he's not going to show up on camera here. Well, hi, buddy. Hi. All right. So moving on, I guess we'll start with some of the pickups that I got in while I was in Toronto, I think is what we'll do. So we'll just set a couple of things aside here. So I was going and hoping to find stuff for like the rest of my gaming group. Like I had people send me lists of books that they were looking for, but just like nowhere that I went had any used D&D books. So it was kind of disappointing as far as that goes. However, I was able to find a BattleTech box set for a friend of mine who had issues when he pre-ordered his. It was delivered to the wrong place, and I guess it never got sorted out, so that was just kind of a wash for him. So I was able to find that set for him, and having that in my possession for several days piqued my interest enough that I actually ordered some BattleTech sets off of like some of the game stores that I went to, because I knew I didn't have room in my suitcase, so I decided to do some online orders while I was there, just to be able to pick up a few things, but I, again, didn't have room to pack them with me, so I just decided to do the online order for them instead. So I'll have those BattleTech sets along with another couple of things that are going to be showing up in the next little bit, so I'll show them off when we get them. But let's go with the Elimination Chamber Superstore pickups or purchases that I had there. So we'll start with this Elimination Chamber magnet, which is going to be going up on our fridge. Last year, I picked up a t-shirt, a title belt, and the mini belt, and I wasn't really able to get anything else. So this year, I knew I wasn't getting a replica belt, so it freed me up to get a little bit more loose with kind of what I was buying. So I did get this magnet. I think it was like $10, which wasn't too bad. It says $20. I guess I paid $20 for it. But again, you know, I don't get to go to these shows very often, and I wanted to commemorate the fact that I went to this one, so we ended up getting that. We also ended up getting, I ended up also getting this John Cena towel. Now, not the hugest Cena fan, but this was his last stop in Toronto, and I was actually at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view when he came out to announce his retirement. So it's kind of interesting that the announcement of his retirement tour happened in Toronto, and probably one of the biggest events of his entire career also happened in Toronto, but I'm not going to spoil that. But I ended up picking this up, and I bought all this stuff on the Thursday before the pay-per-view. So the Superstore opened up on Thursday. I was there like an hour or two after it opened up, and picked up the stuff that I was looking to get there. But yeah, really, really cool. So I got the John Cena towel. Again, this will just sort of go up either on my wall, or I'll try to figure out something to do with this one. I also ended up picking up, I picked up a t-shirt, but that's upstairs in my suitcase, and I don't really feel like bringing it out. But I also picked up something else that's just going to go on my wall. Like, I don't really want to wear it, but it's an Elimination Chamber, like, kind of hockey jersey idea. So it's got the maple leaf with the WWE logo on the shoulder there, and then it has the number 25 for, 2025 when we were there, and then on the back it just has, again, the Toronto, and then 25, along with like the Elimination Chamber itself there. So that was really, really cool to see that and pick that up. And so, like I said, I don't plan on wearing it. What I plan on doing is getting a clothes hanger and just like putting it up on my wall. So having like a nail or a hook or something for it to attach to and just be displayed like that. I might even have it so that it is where the door opens up to this room. I might even hang it up there, just because wall space is kind of becoming a bit of a premium, but I do want to have that. And then the final thing I picked up from the Superstore, and again, I'm not going to open it up in this because I will do a separate video for it, but I did get the Toronto Elimination Chamber exclusive mini belt here. So like I said, I'll be doing a separate video for that, but this is the case that it came in. It's not a Money in the Bank briefcase, but it's still pretty cool nonetheless. So those were my pickups from there, but we're not quite done. I was able to get one thing physically from 401 Games. I've done like some orders from them online that should be showing up the next little bit. But I wanted to get something while I was there, and what I ended up seeing were these. So this is the Series 2 of the first edition mini or Monster Manual like mini figures. So I think these are kind of more like vinyl figures. I don't think they're like miniatures, but it's still really, really cool. You can get a Yeti, a Water Elemental, an Otyugh, a Blue Dragon, a Troll, a Lich, which would be kind of neat. You can also get a Shrieker, a Kobold, a Shambling Mound, an Owlbear, a Carrion Crawler, Umber Hulk, and a Quasit. And I guess it is a Blue Dragon, isn't it? I thought it was a Black Dragon when I was looking at it at the store. But that's okay. So again, just really, really cool. I'm not even entirely sure if I'm actually going to open this or not. I might just keep this sealed because, you know, that way it could be anything. Versus knowing my luck, it would probably be the thing that I'm the least interested in, which would probably be like the Shrieker. The Carrion Crawler would be pretty cool too, though. So yeah, some really cool stuff there. But yeah, I just wanted to get something while I was actually at the store. So we ended up picking that up. A friend of mine, the friend that I was staying with, actually gave this to me. So they were looking to pare down some of their, I guess, Christmas decorations. So we had this Ninja Turtles Leonardo ornament. So Leonardo is my favorite turtle. So he gave that to me. And that'll be... we haven't really done Christmas trees the last couple of years, but I think we're going to do one this year. And that's likely going to be going up on there. All right. So the last things from Toronto before I get into my final pickups that I actually did before going there. We ended up going to a place called A&C Games. And it was like sort of like a retro video game store. So I wasn't really expecting any role-playing stuff there, and there really wasn't. There were like some board games and there was some card game stuff, which was kind of cool. And while I was there, I think we'll start with the cards. So while I was there, when I first got in the door, I saw something that I was just completely and totally blown away by, and that was some retro hockey cards. But before we get there, when I was at the cash, I saw this next to it, and I decided to pick up this pack of Cyber Cell, so 3D cell art Ninja Turtles cards. So again, this is going to stay sealed. I might pop it up on my wall with my figures there, because it does have the little hang tab thing there. But what I was really blown away by is that they had a bunch of hockey cards from when I was actually a kid and buying hockey cards. So the first one that I'm going to show here, or the first two that I'm going to show, are from 1990 and 91. So this one in particular was a big deal because if you look on the back, there's an advertisement for a hockey binder. And that is the binder that I have my hockey cards in. So when I was a kid, my grandparents and my mother, they got me this box of like just bunches of hockey cards. So I guess it'd be like a booster box or whatever you want to call it of these hockey cards. And it had the binder along with it. So I also ended up buying some of these as well. So I remember that from 1990. And then from 91, there was the Score hockey cards, which again, I absolutely remember picking these up as well. And then the other two big ones were the 91 and 92 series. And again, this one, like these packages along with this one, immediately sprang to mind. So it's just really cool. And they were only like $2 each. So the prices on these hockey cards from 30 plus years ago, was actually relatively, was like, this is like $1.99. I think this one might have been $3 for the pack, but like super cheap. So I ended up just getting, these were all the vintage hockey card sets that they had. I ended up getting one of each. And again, these are going to remain sealed. There's going to be added to my Tim Hortons sealed hockey cards. So that's really cool. But they also sold video games there, and there were some things that I was hoping for, and then there was something that I just decided to go with anyway. So the main thing that I was looking for was this, which is Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo. When I was a kid, I used to rent this game all the time, and I never beat the game. I think the furthest I ever got was the Penguin when he was on his vehicle. I think that's the furthest I ever ended up getting. So, but I loved this game as a kid. I would rent it whenever I could, and I've never found a copy of this for sale anywhere that I've went in my adult life. So they had it there, and I decided to pick it up. The plastic case, the plastic protector case that it came in, I think it got a little smushed in my backpack on the flight back, but it's still fine. I mean, I'm not really going to use it really that much. I plan on, like, this was in my Super Nintendo until I just started this video. So I ended up picking that up. And I also picked up a boxed N64 game. One of my favorite games that I had for the N64 back in the day that I've never even seen the box for in person in my life. And that is a complete in-box WrestleMania 2000. Now, these things were not the cheapest, but I had a budget for, just for the trip, and I came in a little under. Not a lot under, but I came in a little under. So yeah, we got WrestleMania 2000. This has the manual. It's got the game. It even has the holographic card on the back there, which is something that I didn't even know came with it, but really, really cool. Really, really awesome. Like, I loved this game. This is my favorite wrestling game on the N64. I know people love No Mercy. I'm not a huge fan of No Mercy, personally. So, for me, it was this one all the way. And they had 2 box copies of it, but I think one was incomplete because it was noticeably cheaper, and it was also in worse shape. Like, this box is actually in really good condition. And yeah, just got the WrestleMania 2000 complete in box for my Nintendo 64. So some really awesome stuff there. And we're going to end this off with what might be a new obsession for me, although sort of getting back into an obsession. I really want to get back into painting. And I also want to get a little bit more into like tabletop miniatures games. Mainly because, like, I do have some friends that are into like minis games, so it might be cool to just have some like casual, dinner table, supper table, whatever you want to call it, kitchen table, I guess, games. Like, I'm not looking to get into the competitive scene, because I've never been into the competitive scene for anything. Like, even when I was really into Magic, I went to like 2 events, and I kind of hated being there for both of them because I'm just, I just want to have fun, right? I'm not there to be like competitive and anyway, like anything like that. But I want to get into that, and I want to get into painting. So for the painting side of things, I did pick up this set of brushes, so from the Army Painter. I ordered these for 401 Games. So we've got a dry brush, small dry brush. We've got a regiment brush, which I guess is just like a larger brush for like base coating and stuff. And then we've got an insane detailed brush there, which is really, really small. So I got those. I also have a couple of other brushes that we bought years ago and I've never used. So I'm really looking to get into that. So to paint some miniatures to paint, I was at EB Games, or I guess it's called GameStop now, and I saw this on their shelf, and I thought it was really kind of cool. So this is a Warhammer Heroes blind box. So there are, 6 different miniatures that it could possibly be. And yeah, I just thought this was really, really cool. The minis look pretty awesome. And I know that the scale is different from like D&D scale, but that's fine. I still, just really thought the minis looked cool. And yeah, so we ended up picking that up. But the main things that I'm looking to do here is I ended up getting into, or picking up, a couple of Warhammer 40,000 or 40K sets. So this is the introductory set. And the reason that I wanted this is because it does come with some minis. It comes with some dice, which is fine, but it also comes with some paints, a paintbrush, which is okay, but I think from everything that I've heard, they're not great, but they're okay. But it also comes with a pair of snips for cutting things off of the sprues there. So I think, this is something that this will probably be the first thing that I tackle. And what I actually want to do is paint these Tyranids kind of like the Xenomorph. So they're basically going to be black, but I plan on like a dry brushing, kind of like a light blue coloring on them, sort of like the aliens, as well as like some bone colored for like, sort of the details on the arms and stuff. The blue will probably be on the armor plates. and then I'll do like the blue, or not the blue, but the white, like the bone color on their bodies. So that's kind of my plan for those. And then of course we got the Space Marines there as well. So yeah, some really cool stuff as far as that's concerned. So we got the introductory set, but I also went and picked up the starter set. So this is the basic starter set, and again, this will probably be as far as I go with Warhammer. I've got the introductory set and I've got the starter set there. So I'll have enough to play some casual games, because you get some really cool stuff with these. So you get like the Tyranid Prime, which is that guy there. I think this is called a Psychophage. And then you got some Leapers and Termagants and the Ripper Swarms, which we got, I think, there. And then we got over here, we've got, again, just some more of your regular Infernus Marines, which were in the introductory set as well. But you've also got some Terminators. So it looks like we got 2 or 3, 4 Terminators, and then we got the Captain in Terminator armor. So it'll be enough for me just to play some casual games, and that's about as far as I really want to go. So, you know, when it comes to stuff like this, you know, I've had somebody tell me that I'm going to go like way off the rails with this, and I mean, the answer to that is absolutely not. It was the same thing with Magic, right? Like, I bought enough stuff to play some games of Magic and to have some variety in that. But, you know, I'm not going to go crazy with it, because I don't think there's like a really big Warhammer scene here in like the Valley anyway. There was HFX Games in the city where we used to live, and they had some big Warhammer support there. But, you know, again, I'm not really looking to play competitively. I think the only store that might do that is one that I never want to set foot in again anyway. So the starter set and this introductory set, again, probably about as far as I'm going to go with this. They do have like a Lord of the Rings role-playing game as well that I might try to get into, but again, I doubt it. We'll see how this goes first. I just want to have a few other like options. Like, I've got the D&D Onslaught set. I've got my Dungeon Command for like miniatures games. I've got the Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars sets. And so now I've got like the Warhammer, and I picked up some of the BattleTech stuff that's not here yet, but it is on its way. So I'll have a few different genres that I can play for variety, but again, you know, I'm not going to be investing probably any more than what I've already done. And now to conclude this video, I showed paintbrushes, I've shown minis, but I've also picked up some paint sets. So we were at a store called Cape and Cowl, and they happen to have these D&D paint sets there. So years ago, I picked up the Undead set, which is still sealed in plastic as well. So this is the Adventurers paint set, which was sort of like the base set. This was the first set of paints to come out for the Nolzar's Marvelous Pigments line. Then we've got the Underdark set. So I got the Adventurers, the Underdark, and the Undead sets. So I've got pretty much all of the like extra sets that came out. And then I also picked up, if I can get it here, I also picked up the Monster set. And this one was harder to find than the other ones. Luckily, 401 Games had this in stock. I was looking at like the Amazon prices, and some of them were like over $200. So I got this from 401 Games. It was sold at a very reasonable price. And so with the 3 sets and this, here's my puppy again. Don't step on that, please, buddy. There we go. With the 3 sets and this one here, I've got 66 different paint colors. So that's going to be more than enough to do everything that I need to do. And yeah, this is what I'm going to be using to paint my minis. They also do come with exclusive minis as well. So we've got Drizzt on the Underdark one. We have Minsk with Boo. On the Adventurers one, we've got an Owlbear with the Monster set, and we had an Acererak mini with the Undead set. The Acererak mini actually has to be cut from the sprue and assembled and glued together, whereas these minis are complete. But I might leave the minis untouched, because I have the Elf Ranger Nolzar's Marvelous mini, which is Dritzed for all intents and purposes. If you look on the back, it is like literally they painted him as a Drow Ranger. I have the Human Ranger mini as well, which is Minsk with Boo, and I have an Owlbear mini. So I might leave these guys untouched and just use the already pre-primed ones that I have in my collection, but I really want to get into painting, so that's why I picked up these paint sets, and I've got basically the entire line of the Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments for D&D at this point. So yeah, it'll be nice to actually get started and paint some minis. So those were my pickups. Those were the things that I've added to my collection shortly before my trip to Toronto, as well as during my trip to Toronto. So let me know in the comments below, what are some of the things that you've added to your collections. If you've done any like hockey, what are the earliest hockey cards that you remember getting as a kid, and that might appeal more to the Canadian viewers than the American ones. But anyway, I just wanted to put something out because I have been home, but I'm just completely worn out and burned out, which probably comes across rather well in this video. But we're going to start getting back into the swing of things here very, very shortly. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. It does mean a lot to me, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, take care.